Peace, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. Okay, so welcome everybody to another class. We have these classes, as always, we try to have them once a month, usually at the end of the month, last Sunday. Before I begin, I just want to inform everybody we're going to start doing something a little different. Not a lot different, but a little different to try to keep things going smoothly. Because it's very important that people get the information, and that we want people get the most out of these classes. What I'm going to ask everybody to do is hold off your questions until the end. I will say now it's open for question and answer, and then we can continue. And also, I just want to be clear for those who are not clear as to how this class works, because there are some people who are members of the Moorish Temple of America. We have what's known at the temple as Sunday school meetings. Okay. Now, these classes are different from Sunday school meetings in the way it's structured. Okay. So, but they both kind of serve the general purpose of uplifting fallen humanity. So, I just want to be clear that this is distinct. Though members who come to these classes, it's still, I would say, count as a part of a Moorish class or Moorish meeting. But it's different, because the Sunday school that is done at the temple is structured in a way where it's dealing with the foundation of the literature solely of the Moorish Temple of America. Meaning, in our bylaws it says the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire. So in a Sunday school meeting or a class, what I would do as a Sunday school teacher is go specifically and only into that literature and then expound on it. In these classes, if those who have been here already know that we'll go into some other topics as well, right? But it's still, again, dealing with knowledge of self, knowing self. So I just want to be clear make that clear distinction on that. So with that, we are going to go into literature of the Moorish Temple of America. I'm going to touch on it. And the topic is going to be the fall of man. So, which would be, we'll go and read from passages off of this. And the reason why I'm going to be is because this information is going to tie in to other information, even if you're not a member. It's going to tie into information that you heard before. If you've been into the Bible, or you've been into the Quran or Mecca, or different things, the information I'm going to give here is going to tie it in. The purpose of the title of this class is due to the question that was asking me about where do people go after death, right? Whether you're considered good or whether you're considered bad. So to give a context, what I'm going to do is write this, so these people can take notes. If you don't have this with you, this is abbreviation for Moorish Holy Koran. When I do MHK, I'm referring to this book right here. So this is chapter 1. So that's for those who don't have it. You can refer to this after, when you get a chance to refer to it. So, okay. The title of this chapter is called The Creation and Fall of Man. Okay. It's a long chapter, and it doesn't have verses in it, so I'm going to go through different parts of it. We'll start from the beginning. In the beginning, the creation and fall of man. Time never was when man was not. In life of man, at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite man can comprehend things infinite. All finite things are subject unto change. All finite things will cease to be because there was a time when they were not. The bodies and the souls of men are finite things, and they will change. Yea, from the finite point of view, the time will come when they will be no more. But man himself is not the body nor the soul, but he is a spirit and a part of Allah. Creative fate gave to man, to spirit man, a soul that he might function on the plane of soul. Gave him a body of flesh that he might function on the plane of things made manifest. Why did creative fate give to spirit man a soul that he might function on the plane of soul? Why did creative fate give to soul a body of flesh that might function on the plane of things that are made manifest? I'll stop there. Okay. So what that part of that chapter is dealing with, 3 realms of existence. Spirit plane, soul plane, or plane of soul. And the plane of things made manifest. Also known as the physical plane. Okay. So, with the spirit plane, of course, you have the spirit. That is the essence of who you are. Soul plane, you have the soul. It says the body of soul was created to operate, to function on the plane of soul. And of course, with the plane of things made manifest, you have the physical body. I'll say body of flesh. Now, why is this important? This is important because you need to know, excuse me, you need to know what happened to us, why we're in the state we are today, to realize what is our ultimate goal, right? On the front of this circle 7, it says, by the guiding of his Father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his Father, God Allah. So, this is the highest plane of life, generally speaking. And with planes, there are subplanes of existence. We won't get into that. I'll keep it very basic. But when it says in chapter 1 that man himself is not the body nor the soul, he is a spirit and a part of Allah, that is a confirmation that the spirit plane is where we originally resided in. And we originally, that's the highest plane of life. So, the fall of man is a fall from spirit to flesh. You have a spirit and you have a soul, but what I mean is that you was pure spirit. You was just a spirit being, right? Some people will say light beings and things of that nature. For this term, we'll use a spirit being. What ended up happening was we chose to vibrate and fall into this plane by choice. And I'm going to explain how. I'm going to go to this text to explain how. To have a physical experience. So you are divine beings having an earthly experience. Some people will say you have spiritual beings having a physical experience. So, as a result, the body of flesh is temporary. Thus, it is the illusion. You have 2 things. You have what's called truth, and you have falsehood. what's called ought, and you have what's called naught. You have what's called reality, and you have what's called illusion. You have what's called higher self, and you have what's called lower self. You have what's called human spirit, and you have what's called body of flesh. So what ends up happening is that the spirit plane was the plane of the only reality. And the reason why, because you have infinite, got to put that, and you have finite. Anything that's finite has a beginning and an end. The body of flesh will die. It has a birth date and it has a date of death. The spirit does not. Right? Even the soul has a beginning and an end. Though the life of the soul is much longer than the life of the body. So much so that in our finite perception, it seems immortal. It seems infinite. It's not that it's infinite, it's just that the lifespan of the soul is far beyond the lifespan of the physical body. Physical body, average physical body person lives what 80 years. Nowadays it's getting shorter and shorter. You know, Prince just died at the age of 57, and he was a vegan. You follow? So the time is being quickened on this plane. But after that, you have the soul plane, and then you have the spirit plane. So what I want to do is read another passage that talks about the transition into those planes, and then we're going to get into the aspect of what happens to people who we would classify as bad people, and and how does that relate to us? Okay. So I'm going back to chapter 1, and I'm going. That was page 4. So I'm going over to page 5 from the top, and it says the following: "And these soul attributes became a body beautiful. A multitude of lessons man must learn upon the plane of soul, and here he tarries many ages until his lessons are learned." That's a key point. I want you to keep that in mind. I'm going to write it here. Ages of time. And the key word in that is to let you know that an age of time is much longer than 80 years. So for you to go ahead and learn all your lessons, you can't learn all your lessons in one physical lifetime. Some masters are able to, but the average person is not. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Here, he tarries many ages until his lessons are learned. Upon the boundary of the plane of soul, the ether began to vibrate slower still, and then the essence took on a final garb. The perfumes and odors and the sensations and the all of love were clothed in flesh, and man was clothed in flesh. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life, and so a carnal was full manifest. a nature that sprang forth from fleshly things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength, and thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. And so, this carnal nature soon became a foe that man must fight, that he might be the strength of Allah made manifest. Let every living thing stand still and hear. He is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and tribulations manifold. But let him know that cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah, who rule the solar stars, are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. I'm going to stop there. So, the point I want to make in that passage is the following. One, as I mentioned before, you chose to take on this physical garden. You chose to go through parents by which you would go into this plane. And in doing so, you were to learn your lessons of life. Right? Now, why did you choose to do it? Because there was the desire to experience the physical. Okay? What I mean by that? The analogy is put into the Garden of Eden. Okay? Adam and Eve were created. Okay? We all know the story. Adam and Eve were created, and then it says that God told him, you can eat of all the fruit on the garden. Just don't touch this tree. What happened? They touched that tree, the fruit of that tree. So what does that entail? That entails the act of desire. To desire what you're not supposed to have, or what you cannot have. That has always been a quality in us as human beings. That is the prevailing thing within us because we're still in the body of flesh, the carnal self, right? How many of us can go back into our mind and think of a time where you was told, you know, don't go around over there, such and such house, or don't do this, and then you say, I'm going to do it anyway, right? The desire to do it because we, as spiritual beings, never knew the issue of restriction. And being in the body of flesh, you're restricted. You follow? In the body of flesh, you have infirmities. In the body of flesh, you can't travel where you want to travel. You're confined by time. What did I say in the beginning of that chapter? Time never was when man was not. So you existed outside of the circle of time. You existed outside of the zodiac. You have people who say, well, you know, I'm going to chart my life through the zodiac and stars. Nothing wrong with that. But that only deals with your human experience. Because the spirit cannot be bound by time. It was never supposed to. The spirit is now experiencing the concept of time because you're in the flesh. Right? Time never was when man was not. If the time began, it had to end. Spirit has no beginning. Spirit is. You follow? So, with that being said, that's why I put this chart. Infinite, finite, body of flesh, human spirit. Because what you're dealing with is the only reality for what people would say, lack of a better word, we're going to use that term, God. You know what I'm saying? Is the only reality. Right? And some would use the mantra of nothing would exist if God didn't create it. Nothing would happen without God. There is no reality except God. Right? Okay. I'm going to show show you something. I think I did this before. This was an ancient concept. Circle and the dot.